Saturday, 8 p.m. at Villa Park is make or break for Chelsea Football Club, because a win against high-flying Aston Villa would go a long way to put in an unforgivable performance against Arsenal behind us, and it would go a long way to taking us into next Thursday night's London derby against Spurs with some real momentum that is probably useless, if we're being honest, because if you have watched Chelsea Football Club this season, then you will have probably realised that the form book goes out the window when we play. A good performance doesn't indicate that there's going to be an uplift in form, and when we have a bad performance, it doesn't mean that we can't have a good one next time out. But despite the only consistency that we have seen this season being inconsistency, we are still somehow in with a chance of securing some form of European football. Because based on my very unreliable calculations, 4 wins out of our last 6 games should be enough to see us over the line. It should be enough to save Mauricio Pochettino's job, and it should be enough to secure some form of European football for next season. But after witnessing one of the worst, in fact, the worst performance I have seen in my conscious lifetime as a Chelsea fan, why am I even the tiniest bit optimistic that we can go to Aston Villa and win? This man is why I am optimistic, because Cole Palmer is apparently back. And let's be honest, what is Cole Palmer FC without Cole Palmer? So without any further ado, let's get into my starting 11 to go to Villa Park and to turn over Aston Villa. Right then, we have got Petrovic in goal. I think that Malo Gusto is still going to be unavailable for selection. If he is, that's a huge miss to us. If he is, that is even less chance we have got of winning this match. But I am going to go on this lineup under the... what's the word I'm looking for? Under the circumstance? No, under the assumption. Good long word for me. Under the assumption that Malo Gusto is not in the starting 11, is not fit and available, so I'm going to go Disasi at right back. We've seen him there a couple of times this season. I don't actually think he's been that bad. He does not offer us what Malo Gusto does. He does not offer us what Reece James does. Even, I don't think, he offers us what Ruben Loftus-Cheek did a couple of times last season when he played at right back. But nevertheless, what he does offer us is a body in that position of the field. So Disasi right back. I am going to go with Trevor Chalobah and Thiago Silva as the centre-back pairing, and I'm still waiting. Can someone tell me why on earth he changed that centre-back pairing? Because it looked good against Everton, it looked good against Manchester City, and then Mauricio Pochettino comes in, decides, I'll tell you what, that's looked pretty good, let me completely fucking change it, and therefore see us get spanked by Arsenal. However, 1 or 2 people did reach out to me and say you're ignoring the obvious here. He probably changed it because Todd Bowley or Egbali got on the phone to him and said, Poch, sorry mate, you're playing 2 players that aren't going to be at the club next season, so why don't you stick a few of our signings in there and, be a good boy. And maybe that is why he started Disasi and Badiashile. Could be the reason. Either way, whatever the reason is, I don't want to fucking see him in this match. Ironic, though, because when we're thinking about this game at Villa Park, a game that we need to look good in, we need to pick up points in, and we really, really need to get the ball rolling again if we are to push on in this run-in and head towards the European spaces. We look at that game. We've played at Villa Park this season, probably our best performance this season when we won 3-1 there. And the centre-back pairing in that game, if my memory does not desert me, was Axel Disasi and Benoit Badiashile. So maybe you'll go with Axel Disasi and Benoit Badiashile. I, for one, wouldn't. I'd go with Trevor Chalobah and Thiago Silva. On the left-hand side, I am going with Cucurella. Now, Enzo Fernandez is now out for the rest of the season, and we will speak about Enzo Fernandez, but being that he's out, in his absence, I will start a midfield pivot of Caicedo and Gallagher. And then, in the number 10, I am going to go with a player that I love dearly, Carney Chukwuemeka. I really think it is time now to see this boy given a start. He has looked good whenever we've seen him, more or less. Okay, he might have come on for, 5 minutes against Arsenal and not lit the world up, but what I'm saying is, when given the opportunity to do something, Carney Chukwuemeka has rarely disappointed me, and I do think that he needs to be afforded more minutes. Minutes, by the way, that would be played against his former club. And when we look at Cole Palmer's performances against Man City this season, when we look at Oh, can I bring myself to say it? I should say it. When we look at Kai Havertz's performance against Chelsea this season, there is method behind the madness that maybe one of these boys can go and do the business against their old clubs. Carney Chukwuemeka is a player that I definitely want to see in there. However, I would not be averse to Cesar Casadei also coming in there. It gives us height in the middle of the park. Right, probably a good time to quickly jump in here and tell you lot that I have just heard the press conference. I have heard that Carney Chukwuemeka is not fit or available for selection. Listen, guys, I've got a very busy life, man. I've got a lot on my plate. So I try and record these videos and get it done, all the graphics done as and when I get the opportunity. If I was to sit and wait for Mauricio Pochettino's press conference every single week, I wouldn't get anywhere near the amount of videos out to you guys as I do. But I'm trying to amend it here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push Conor Gallagher further forward into the 10, and I'm going to stick Casadei in there for his full Premier League debut for Chelsea next to Caicedo. Job's a good one. Casadei is a player that I am an admirer of. By the way, who on earth sanctioned bringing him back off the loan from Leicester if he was just going to sit on the bench like he did in every match more or less he's come back, including last match against Arsenal? No, he didn't even make the bench last match against Arsenal. As far as I know, he's fit and available. So he's not even making the bench. You brought him back from his loan spell at Leicester, where, by the way, he was doing a good job. He was gaining valuable experience. You brought him back to sit on the bench, much like you did David Washington and a few of the others. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Who am I to criticise Chelsea Football Club, eh? Right wing, let's go Cole Palmer. Through the middle, let's go Nicholas Jackson. And on the left, let's go with Mykhailo Mudryk. I was tempted to bring Raheem Sterling here on the left wing, you know. I was really tempted to do so, but I just never see anything that I like recently from Raheem Sterling. I think that realistically, who would do a better job in this match? Who do I have more certainty? Well, with Mykhailo Mudryk, you don't really know what you're going to get. At least with Raheem Sterling, you got a fair feeling of what you're going to get. I think Raheem Sterling would maybe have more of a chance of doing something in this match because with Mykhailo Mudryk, he does run hot and cold. However, if we're building for the future, and if Pochettino is this genius at getting good performances out of young players, which we've heard time in, time out, he's so good at it, let's have Mudryk in there. Let's see what you can do with Mudryk. Because, my God, if ever we needed to get something out of one of our younger players, it's this boy, by the way. Cost us a lot of money. A lot of money that Arsenal wanted to spend on him. And we came in and said, no, come to us. You know, we'll do the business with you. So, yeah. One man that we did spend a lot of money on, Enzo Fernandez. And now that he has opted to have his surgery which I'm pretty sure happened today and was successful, now that has happened, I think we can rule out Enzo Fernandez for the rest of the season, meaning he has now completed his first full season as a Chelsea player, and because of that, let's speak about how it's gone. Well, in all competitions, 40 games, 10 goal involvements. Has he pushed on from last season? In numbers, yes, he has pushed on from last season, because he got 2 goal involvements in however many games last season, 20-odd games, probably 18 games, something like that. 2 goal involvements, couple of assists. It was that he got a really good one. Do you remember that assist against Leicester for Kai Havertz? Oh, let's not speak about him. So in numbers, yeah, he's improved. In performances, maybe he's improved. I think he looked a bit classier last season, you know. I honestly do think that. I had higher hopes for him after the half season than I do now after the full season we've seen. But I would say last season when we saw Enzo Fernandez in midfield, most of the time he had Mateo Kovacic next to him, an experienced player, a much more experienced player than Moses Caicedo, who now plays next to him. You know, he also had Kante in there at times. Obviously, that was, you know, very rare. It was like a solar eclipse. But every now and again, he had Kante in there with him. He had Ruben Loftus-Cheek in there with him. Another guy who, yes, is not going to light up the world, although he is lighting up Serie A at the minute, but has that experience, has that know-how, understands the club. Whereas when he's got Caicedo next to him, he's in there with a guy who is young, who has only had, one full season of top-flight experience, and also, you know, doesn't understand the club. So I do think that maybe Enzo Fernandez can be harshly done by in terms of we still haven't found the best position for him. I know Pochettino hasn't. Pochettino started the season with Enzo Fernandez pushing forward, playing in that 10 space. Then he drops him into the 6. He was part of the double pivot. We still haven't really seen it from him. And so far, is he worth the money that we paid for him? No. But who is worth the money that we paid for him? Cole Palmer, he's one. Malo Gusto, Petrovic, there's a few. Jackson, I would go as far to say, is worth 30-odd million. I think he's going to come good. So the problem is, the more we see the combination of Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, the more we start to realise that maybe that isn't the right partnership. And maybe we're not going to see the best of Enzo Fernandez, hopefully, until Romeo Lavia comes in there. Romeo Lavia could be a game changer. If not, maybe we'll go out and sign someone. Who that is, I don't know. Maybe a Paulinho. I think he would be he'd be good in there. But anyway, let's give Aston Villa their props, because Aston Villa have been one of the best teams in the Premier League this entire season. And I do think that the fact that other stories are garnering more headlines, like our downfall this season, like Jurgen Klopp's farewell, like the decline of Manchester United, I think all of those stories are accumulating more headlines than Aston Villa. And then maybe Aston Villa's good work is going under the radar. They are the only English team left in Europe. They've now all but qualified for the UEFA Champions League. It always gets to that point towards the end of the season where it looks like no one wants these spots, and therefore Aston Villa are in pole position. Wins this season over Manchester City, the double over Arsenal. They beat us 2-0 at the Bridge, and their front line can be pretty prolific. Ollie Watkins is in with a shout for the Golden Boot. I don't think he'll win it. I don't even think he'll score more than Cole Palmer, but they do have a player that can guarantee them goals, and they also have other guys that can chip in. Last time out against Bournemouth, Watkins had Leon Bailey, Moussa Diaby, and Morgan Rogers. Terrific little player, by the way. All playing off the back of him. All of them scored. So you can clearly see they know how to find the back of the net. Players like Tielemans, who I genuinely thought could be a contention for flop of the season, he is now coming good. We all know about the ability of Douglas Luiz, Emi Martinez, and most notably, their manager, Unai Emery. My God, do I wish I had gone for a former Arsenal manager than a former Tottenham manager. Probably. But I didn't go for the former Tottenham manager. Either way, we have got a former Tottenham manager, I should say, and Poch will probably stay in a job no matter what. Every indication we are getting at the moment is showing us that this board at Chelsea at the moment, this ownership at Chelsea at the moment, do not really care about mediocrity. I've said that word right in one go. Very, very proud of myself. I don't know, man. When things look like they're going tits up, this ownership doesn't move as quickly as former ownerships used to move. So that means that maybe Mauricio Pochettino was just given a free pass this season, and there are sort of underlying factors that would suggest that maybe that was the right decision. He has been dealt with the worst injury crisis known to man. I don't know a worse one, but if we were going to rank them and go second worst one, probably ours last season. So he's coming to a club that have adopted a policy to only sign youngsters, but then at the same time as that, they've shipped out most of their older and more senior players that were able to help bed in and gel those youngsters in to the first team. He's come in, let's be honest, being forced to play players that maybe he wouldn't have. Like I mentioned, and that was just a complete hypothetical possibility that maybe the ownership said to him, play Disasi and Badiashile. But either way, there are players that not only would he not be playing, I just don't think he'd even have them on the books, I've made it quite clear on this channel, I don't think Mauricio Pochettino fancies Mykhailo Mudryk and a few other players in there. And all of this going on in the background, he's still managed to get us scoring more goals. We are still in a higher position in the table this season than we were at the same point last season. We've had some memorable moments this season. We've reached a cup final, We've pulled off wins against Spurs, Villa, Man United, Newcastle, putting decent performances at times against some of the big boys. The draws against Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal. But we're ninth and we haven't won 3 games on the bounce all season. And at Chelsea Football Club, that is just not good enough. Losing to Arsenal is not good enough. Getting pumped 5-0 by Arsenal is criminal and sackable. But seeing as he hasn't been sacked, this is what I now need to see. I need to see Chelsea beat both Aston Villa and Spurs. We need to stop the rot, man, before it kicks in, you know. We got to sort out the defensive frailties, and we need to learn to win a fucking game 1-0. We ain't had a 1-0 win this season, have we? I don't think we have. God knows, I never thought I'd be saying I missed the 1-0 wins, but now I'd like a little 1-0 win, you know. Just get the game wrapped up. Nice, tight defence. Listen, some people can claim that Mauricio Pochettino can't be held accountable for Nicholas Jackson missing sitters, and I would agree with them, you know. I would agree with them. I'd say that Mauricio Pochettino can only be accountable for setting Nicholas Jackson up in a way and the team in a way that he can get those sitters to miss. But what he can be held accountable for is the defence fucking leaking goals, mate. Absolutely leaking. And Unai Emery, the manager in the opposite dugout on Saturday night, came into Aston Villa, didn't have a chance to change the personnel, but straight away changed the theme we were seeing at the time of Aston Villa conceding goals. Eddie Howe did it at Newcastle. Tommy Tuchel did it when he first came in and took over from Lamps. He didn't have a chance to go into the transfer market. He didn't buy new players. He changed the system. He changed things. He stopped the rot. He stopped us conceding goals. A good manager can organise a defence, in my opinion. A good manager can reduce the amount of chances that we concede. And even a good manager, in my opinion, can stop the individual errors and mistakes. So Pochettino needs to prove he is a good manager and prove he can do this and prove he can move us forward. Even if he doesn't win against Aston Villa and Spurs, I do believe that he'll probably stay in a job. But for me to have confidence going forward, for me to have confidence with Todd Bowley and Barley, giving him the budget for what we're going to be allowed and able to spend in this summer, I do need to see more, man. I really, really do. And I do think that despite us having a real bad time of it at times this season, we are still in with this chance, this golden opportunity to finish in these European spots. West Ham, who are above us, are going to fall off. Man United will remain patchy now until the end of the season. Brighton, I've never really thought they were that good. They got pumped last night by City. What I'm saying is we can get above these boys. We really can. Even Newcastle lost to Crystal Palace. So we can get above all of them, but we need to start winning games. It needs to happen here. Am I going to be bold enough to predict to win? Do you know what? I actually am, funny enough. And that's mad coming off the back of that performance. Can you call it a performance? Coming off the back of that showing against Arsenal. I was sick to the bottom of my stomach. But something just tells me that Chelsea are going to get a win at Villa Park on Saturday night. Am I wrong? You lot let me know. Let me know what you think of my team sheet. I will be getting in the studio with the big dog, Josh Aveste. We'll obviously be reviewing matches, previewing matches, doing all the good stuff that you guys like. But it's just been a bit tight. Just got back from holiday, so I'm just trying to get everything done, everything out, everything sorted, and the normal service will be resumed. We will be back in the studio, dropping longer episodes and doing all the good stuff that you like. So if you can do me a massive favour, hit the like button. It helps this video out. It helps me out as a channel more than you guys can imagine. Subscribe if you're not already. Most of you are, but I really want to hit 100k. Hopefully we can do it in the next couple of months. So please subscribe to the channel, like the video, all the good stuff. I will see you all in the next one.